Hi team, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lydia Fay, your ginger gal pal. And I started retelling this story from my childhood the other day. So when I was little, I was 100% convinced that Batman was real and I was in this reality where I could have died. So basically what happened was, at the time my family was living in Adelaide and we went on this big trip to Queensland to go to the Gold Coast where we went to Movie World. So at the time it was this big novelty. We did end up living in Queensland for 12 years, but that's a story for another time. So on this trip when we went to Movie World, I obviously lost my shit. Obviously, I'm saying obviously too much. So being an aspiring actress since the age of forever, it feels like, movies are kind of my thing. So I got really excited, and I guess amusement parks are just a lot more enjoyable when you are a kid. Although it's ironic, being how tall I am now, that there were a lot of rides I couldn't go on because there were those little meter things that I just was too small to go on that ride. But one of the rides I could go on was the Batman ride. The thing with Movie World is you go on the Superman roller coaster and there's like lethal weapons. So it was the Batman ride, and basically what happens is they've got this massive facade that looks like a movie set. So you're standing out the front of Bruce Wayne's manor and you line up to go on the ride and you go in and you think it's just a tour of Bruce Wayne's manor. I'm just like, oh, like he's secretly Batman. Everyone doesn't know, but I know because I'm so intelligent. Kids are special. So basically you walk in and it's this massive library and there's this employee that stands up.
Good evening everybody and welcome to Bruce Wayne's manor. He's really sorry he couldn't attend this evening but he's attending some business elsewhere.
And then breaking news comes in and Batman turns up on this big screen and he's like, good evening guys, Batman needs me. So basically it was at this point that the actor was probably a little too good at the role that I kind of forgot that I was at an amusement park for a second. I'm just like, so Batman must be real then, and he actually needs my help to save Gotham City. Like, a grown-up said it, so it must be true. Then we start going into these simulated rides, but they look like little contraptions from the movie. And you walk in and sit down, buckle up, we're ready to go. So next to my mama, they were using visuals from Tim Burton's version. So I was terrified of Penguin growing up. Love Gotham, love Batman, hate the Penguin. So then we get in the simulated ride and it was kind of using footage from the film. Looking back, I don't even know how good the CGI was or if it was actually a film. Like, I don't know what kind of technology they would have used in the 90s. It felt real. You're going through, so it's based on the premise of the film, you start going through this tunnel and then you see Penguin plotting and then you go up and there's Mr. Freeze like terrorizing Gotham City and it gets really intense and all this stuff's happening. It's a simulated ride, so it's like jolting around, so it feels like you're actually in this vehicle. It's bumping along like you're actually there. So being the petrified child that I was, and I was so wrapped up in this fantasy, I had to turn to my mum and I was like,
Mum, is this really happening?
and so my little child brain was on the cusp and it couldn't quite grasp. It's like, it might not be, but it kind of feels like it. Bless. No, Lydia, this is just a ride. It's just pretend. It's not actually happening. Whew, thank goodness.
Okay.
To enjoy the ride, and it was all happy days. Got my face painted as Batman, got to have my photo next to the Batmobile, and had an ice cream, went home and had the best day ever. But I just love for that moment, I was completely convinced that Batman was real and Gotham City needed my help. And I haven't lived it down. Still to this day, my mum and I talk about it. But I feel like life kind of comes full circle because in 2014 I went to LA and they had like a Jurassic Park simulated ride where you're actually driving around in a Jeep doing the studio tour, but then it parks in this cavey thing and over top of you it feels like all these dinosaurs are coming to get you and like the Jeep shapes and things like that, and I thought it was so awesome because I'm like, oh, this is so clever. I'm an adult now and I can conceive reality. But then there was this little girl sitting next to me and she was terrified because she must have been around the same age that I was when I was traumatized by the Batman ride. And she, like, complete stranger, jumped on my lap and I could feel her shaking and she was just like,
Oh my god, what's happening?
Everyone thinks I'm a dick for doing this, but I'm for like ruining the reality for her. Everyone thinks that my response should have been like, I know, oh my goodness, we're in Jurassic Park, we're probably gonna die. Ew, that was really Australian. I'm just like, this isn't real, it's pretend, it's just a movie, this isn't really happening. and instantly, like, she stopped shaking. She was still a bit scarred from the situation, but she like calmed down and she was still sitting in my lap. And as soon as we like came out and continued on with the tour, she like went and sat with her mum, and her mum was like, thank you so much. And I'm just like, oh no, the same thing happened to me when I was her age. So these things really do come full circle. Still to this day, I'm so immersed in films and things like that when I'm watching it, and I guess that comes into my acting ability to empathize with situations. Aren't I adorable? So I just wanted to share that story, and please comment below with your situations where you remember as a kid you were completely convinced that something was real. Like, I know I watched the movie E.T. once and I was so convinced that he was living under my bed. Or first time I ever went on a plane, I looked out to the clouds and I thought I saw the Care Bears. So if you have a similar story, please comment down below so we can just look back at how sweet and naive we used to be. But yeah, that's my little story for today. Like this video, share with your friends. That's enough ginger for one day.